The line must be drawn here. Hi everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Star Trek Online, the path to 10k. Now, this is going to be an episode on that most, how can I put this, sensitive of topics, and that is gearing up your ship. Because one of the things that you see, a lot of the posts on Reddit, etc., certainly now when people are trying to maximise their DPS, it comes to a case where, like, look at all these, they're all using crit D times 3 anti-proton beams that do, you know, they cost 130 odd million energy credits on the exchange. And if you want to be at the absolute top of the game, then yes, you do need that sort of thing. But in order to produce respectable numbers and feel like you're not being a burden, you really don't need that level of kit. That's something that will come in time. What I'm looking to try and do at this point is get you to a point where you feel like you're useful, you feel like you're contributing, and you generally feel like you're in a position where you can develop from here. So I've got the Thunderchild as usual, and let's have a look at what I've put on here for the moment. I've just dropped some phased polar on beam arrays on her at the moment. The first thing I want to do is I want to go over some rules as far as putting together a ship goes. So rule number one, and I think the absolute most important rule, is in your tactical slots. This is the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. Nothing goes in these slots apart from tactical consoles. This pretty much is the number one rule of trying to get your DPS to any sort of respectable degree. Anytime I see something like this, that is doing an awful lot of damage to the amount of DPS that you are doing. So that is pretty much rule number one. Rule number two on weaponry is basically, if you are a cruiser, you basically want as many beam arrays as possible with one omnidirectional at the back. That is pretty much in order to maximize your broadsides. If you have 3 aft weapons, which some of the later game ships do, some of the escorts do as well, you can get away, and you have a high enough turn rate, you can actually get away with having all forward firing at the front and omnis at the back. But if you're a cruiser, you basically want beam arrays, and the only reason that you are accepting an omni in the aft is because it's part of a 2-piece, which is ridiculously powerful. So let's start. What I want to do is go over some bits and pieces that you can get without breaking your bank. So the first thing I want to do is go into what you can get actually just by straight up doing standard episode replays. You can get some kit that will more than likely get you to 10k DPS quite easily from the episode replays. You don't even need, there will be some bits where you might need to spend money in reputation traits, but we're not talking about having to spend 500 million energy credits or spend 50 million energy credits on a plasmonic leech or anything like that in order to get to 10k DPS. Will these things make it easier? Of course they will, but it won't. It isn't absolute 100% necessary for you to go ahead and do these sorts of things. So the first thing I want to do is look at free sets that you can get. You guys will already have seen my Kabali ship that had a set that you get for free as long as you get the ship. Even if you don't, you get the 3-piece, and it's definitely worth getting. You get that from the anniversary mission, Dust to
We have a
Dust.
situation on Frolic Run.
There's your,
You and I were
there's
both
the
asked by
3-piece,
Manager.
the 4-piece. Unfortunately, you need the ship to get the 4th piece. I imagine it will be put in the Lobby store, but that'll make it rather expensive. So if you're umming and ahhing about whether you want to complete the anniversary event, complete it, because the 4-piece is actually quite good there. The one that I'm using on the Sartalen that you guys have seen me use quite a lot is actually the Breen set. That is a set that you do pick up straight away from the Breen arc. You get the polarized parabolic deflector from Cold Call. You get the rapid. Oh, that's not one of them. Nope. There are actually 2 Breen sets. This is why it's a little bit awkward. You get the impulse engines from Cold Case, is that you get? Yeah, from Cold Case, and you get the final piece, which is the oscillating shields. You get that from Cold Storage. Now, while this isn't a massive DPS, shot, what it is a really big drain. It's a sort of huge drain. Or it's between this and the Jem'Hadar set, of which is the best drain set. I kind of lean towards this for the Free Energy Siphon 3. The stuff is Mark 11, but it's not that expensive to upgrade, so you can potentially upgrade this. And this is one of the things that's great now about the episode replays, is that even if you pick up Mark 11 kit or blue kit with half decent modifiers on it, you can upgrade it and get better stuff and just keep ticking it through. And it's not something that you're going to do overnight, of course it's not, but it's something that'll keep you going. It's something that'll give you something to do in the game. It will make things seem like you're not standing still. It'll seem like you're going up a hill rather than running into a brick wall. Okay, so that's the Breen stuff done. The next one, and probably I think this, in terms of picking up kit, is probably, there are a couple which are really good, but for me, the 2800, which is the Dominion missions, these are awesome in terms of picking up equipment. They really are. They are incredible.
By now, you've faced the Borg. The collective is
shut up.
appearing with more frequency in the Alpha Quadrant now, and Defera is...
We don't get anything in second wave, but of Bajor,
We've evacuated everyone we could to Bajor, and we're setting up a base there to coordinate our counterattack.
you can get the
against
Jem'Hadar armor. This is ground armor as well. You can get both ground and space sets.
Karo Khan's ships are guarding the
Operation
wormhole, so
Gamma,
access
you
is
get
limited.
the impulse engines,
A
all the
small craft
deflector
like a
dish here.
shuttle
Again,
or fighter
yes, they're Mark
might be
11,
able to
but
slip
you
through
can
the
upgrade
blockade,
them,
so
and
leave
they're
your starship
definitely
here.
worth upgrading. Facility
The
4028.
Federation Council has authorized the release
You
of
get
the
a
founder
personal
from the
shield,
detention
a
facility,
Jem'Hadar
where she is
tactical officer
currently being
candidate
held.
who has a
I need
super...
someone who Aaron and the founder will respect to complete the transfer. You're the best candidate for the task. I don't expect any problems. But I
You
didn't
basically
expect
get that
Jem'Hadar
who
from the
has
past to
Torpedo
crash the
Spread
Borg
3,
conference
which
either.
is a super desirable trait at the moment. It's going for an awful lot on the exchange. So you could even convert him into a manual if you want to. And the final one on Boldly
Now
Lay
that we have
Road,
the aid of one of the founders,
you have
we should
the
have no
Jem'Hadar
trouble
shields, which
convincing
completes the
Jem'Hadar
space set,
Deep
and
Space
you get
Nine to
access to
stand down and
Dominion
return to the
Polaron
Gamma Quadrant.
weapons, which are
Starfleet and
very
the Klingon
useful.
Empire are
Full
assembling
shipload
a
of
unified
these can
fleet.
can do very good things. So again, that mission trait is really, really good for getting hold of both weaponry. Jem'Hadar space set's really nice. It buffs Polaron, it buffs Drain. It's really cool. They're great. A couple of the older missions, there is Spectres, which is somewhere around here. I think Spectres is part of... yeah, it's a... The one I want is Everything Old is New, which is this one. It's part of the Davidian line. So if you hit replay on that one, you can come down here and see you can actually get a phaser beam array with crit D times 2, which if you, I'm just saying this off hat, but if you upgraded that, it hit Mark 12, it went to very rare, and it got a 3rd crit D trait, you would be looking at a very, very serious amount of money is what that would be worth. So I think these are really cool to pick up. If you want to go phasers on a ship, this is how to load yourself out with crit D times 2 stuff. Don't forget that even on the Sarta Lyn, I'm only using crit D times 2 parabolic weapons. So I think that these will be a really good bet. You get a guaranteed crit D times 2 on them. You can even get the retrofit phaser bank, retrofit phaser banks you want. I think these are the blue ones. So, you know, absolutely, these are something that you can get. You can get free. Just for a little time playing the mission. I believe, is it what I'm trying to, yeah, skirmish also gets you a really nice piece of equipment. It gets you the subspace field modulator, which is used way into the late game. It's used on a lot of ships in the late game. It's really good. I would pick one of those up through the mission replay anyway. Let's see what other ones are. There's one more which I want to see in the Cardassian arc, which is the new link, which is this one here. And that gives you access to polarized Tetrion beams as well. I believe these are getting a little bit of a nerf, but either way, and again, it's another way, pick you up some weapons. It's really up to you what you want. I think the Dominion Polaron beams are great, and the guaranteed crit D times 2 on phasers is really good. Additionally, in the 5-year anniversary that you can do at the moment, if we shut Kim up, you can actually get Polaron beam arrays. You always get a crit D trait on it, but you can sometimes get crit D times 2 spawning, and I think that that'd be awesome if you can pick up some of those. It's worth running dust to dust anyway for the moment. Coming a little bit later, we have the Borg Advance. If we look at Fluid Dynamics, which is the last mission, hit replay, you will get anti-proton beams if you want to go down that line. So again, these don't have very good modifiers, so I don't think you'll be using them into the late game, but if you just want to farm some anti-proton beams to your ship without forking out money for them, I'm not sure why you would, because you can craft anti-proton beams quite cheaply, but you know, this is a way to get free anti-proton beams. And not quite finally, there are a couple more. We've got the Solanae Dyson Sphere. There are a couple of items here from the last 3. We have Sphere of Influence, which gives you access to the two-piece set from two-piece anti-proton set, which you will want because that gives you 10% extra damage to your anti-proton weaponry. So replay the mission, get those two. You can also get accuracy times 2 anti-proton beams right there. Probably better modifiers than what's on the Fluid Dynamics mission, but your mileage may vary on that front. Next up, we have Step Between Stars, which I spent some time farming. You can actually get 480 dilithium ore from replaying it, so that's quite nice, although it does take a while. But the most important thing is you can get the 3-piece Solanae set. This is probably the best set that you can get for free. This is super awesome, this set. It's even better if you got the Dyson Science Destroyer in the event, which means that you have the Solanae Warp Core, which I do in fact have, so you get access to the Advanced Metaphasic Shield. But the Structural Integrity Leech, I think, is excuse me, the Structural Integrity Leech is amazing. In fact, if we just look here, I'm just going to put the... What are you equipped on? Right, I'm just going to put the Solanae warp core here so we can see what the space sets are. First of all, you get shield power settings, big bonuses. Set 3, you get a structural integrity leech, which means your energy weapons get a 2.5% proc to heal your hull for the damage they deal, which, considering when you're critting with anti-proton weapons, even if you're not dealing 10k DPS, you're hitting for a few thousand with that, and that's going in as a heal. Again, makes it quite hard to kill you. And Advanced Metaphasic Shield just gives you a massive buff to all your damage resistance. It basically gives you a perfect shield and it gives you a free reverse shield polarity as well. So if you can get all 4 pieces of that, that's amazing. Additionally, they have really good stats on them as well. I'm actually using the Solanae deflector on my main ship at the moment because it's the only one I believe in the game which gives you it gives you 40% bonus to particle generators when it's upgraded to Mark 14, and if you make it go ultra rare, that becomes 50. Additionally, I think that the Solanae warp core also gets the AMP upgrade when you upgrade it to ultra rare. So overall, this can be the only set you need for a very long period of time if you're willing to stick with it. So I think that's something that you can definitely go for on that side. And finally, surface tension. This doesn't give you any particular weaponry to go at, but it does give you a couple of nice traits. It gives you Living Hull, which gives you hull regeneration, which is quite cool. It gives you Fluidic Antigens, which is pretty much necessary for Bug Hunt Elite, and it gives you the Counter Command things, which is what you need to, which is what you will need to complete the Undine ground set. So, doesn't do a lot for you, but does give you a couple of traits, which is quite nice. So that's the sort of stuff you can get for free. Of course, you can also get loot drops as well and things like that, which make things an awful lot easier, but that is basically where that goes. The next place that we need to look for quote-unquote cheap items is the reputation area. Now, reputation items aren't cheap in terms of you can just get them immediately and it won't cost you anything. You do need to put a little bit of grind into getting these, but they are absolutely necessary in some cases if you want to be doing respectable DPS numbers. I'll come to the first one and get it out of the way immediately. You will need 2 things from the Omega space set, pretty much no matter what you are flying. You'll want the Assimilated Universal Console, which is tier 1, so you can get that as soon as you do a half decent as soon as you do a project to upgrade your reputation, and that costs you 500 Omega Marks, 15,000 dilithium and 30,000 energy credits. So that is actually super cheap. It's 2 days worth of dilithium and like 4 days worth of Omega Marks, 5 days even if you're playing on normal, and that's assuming you only play 1 STF a day. So that is an absolute necessity. And the other one is right underneath it. That's the Kinetic Cutting Beam, the space weapon. And again, this one is 500 Omega Marks, 15,000 dilithium and 30,000 energy credits. The reason you want this is for the 2 set. Now, I'm going to plonk it on here so you can see it. That's it, Cutting Beam. Now mine is upgraded to Mark 14, so you'll just have to excuse me on that front. I'll put the assimilated module on it as well, so you can see what you get here. First off, the Kinetic Cutting Beam is the only kinetic weapon that's a beam. So you get and it does do a lot of damage, but the problem is it's kinetic, so it just bounces off shields. However, you get with the 2-piece with the assimilated module, so that's unique, the fact that it's a 360 degree weapon as well. The assimilated module on its own gives you 1% crit chance, which, well, that's at Mark 14. It's a little bit less than that otherwise. Gives you crit chance and crit severity and weapon power setting, which is super, super good. The other two bits are neither here or there, but they're okay. But the two-piece space set is what you really want this for, and that's the Omega Weapon Amplifier. And that gives you a 2.5% chance to get plus 10 to current weapon power, 500 to weapon power resistance rating, and 500 to maximum weapon power resistance rating. That basically means that if that procs, you don't drain weapon energy, which means you do more and more and more damage. So if that procs, you just do a significantly huge amount of damage, especially if it comes off a beam array fire at will. And there is pretty much no other two set in the game which is absolutely necessary for you to do damage. It is those two. So then we're getting on to sort of other consoles that can make our lives a lot easier. First off, let's look at a couple more Universal Reputation consoles. The first one I would recommend is from the Romulan front, and that would be the 0 Point Energy Conduit. This will fall out of favour once you start getting hold of Lobby consoles, but Lobby consoles take a lot of grind and a lot of money to get hold of. For instance, the two that I'm really looking at are the Tachyokinetic Converter and the Bioneural Infusion Circuits. They're the two that you really want, and they cost 200 Lobby crystals each, which means on average you're going to have to open... let me just do some maths here. It's been a while since I actually worked this out. You are going to have to open somewhere around 29 or 30 lock boxes in order to get that many Lobby crystals, which is the equivalent of somewhere around 75 million energy credits you're going to have to spend in order to get that much. So that's a lot. Yeah, of course you can always the other thing you can do is just buy 30 master keys using Zen, which would cost you what, about 3,500 Zen, so $35. That's pretty much what the that is pretty much what those Lobby consoles are going for. They are a long-term grind. Don't try and get them immediately unless you really want to sink money into the game. So as far as that goes, yes, they're superior to anything else, but they are also something that you can't include really on a cheap build. So the 0 Point Energy Conduit is what we're sort of left with. It gives you power to all subsystems, it gives you power insulators, which is useful against enemies like the Borg who drain your shields, especially now, and it also gives you a 1.8% crit chance, which I believe goes up to 2 when it's upgraded to Mark 14, so it does a nice job of improving your critical chance. And if you can't afford the Lobby consoles, that is pretty much what you have to go for. Other ones you can potentially use, I don't usually use this one, but there is a two-piece Dyson set. If I get hold of it here, there is a two-piece Dyson set. I tend not to use it that much. Let's just plonk this on here. You can see my crit chance is already going up using it. Where are we? It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. This is the Proton Particle Stabilizer. It is the Dyson. It's something from the Dyson reputation. It's not very good on its own as a console. It gives you a little bit of weapon power, a little bit of engine power, gives you a bit of power transfer rate, and it increases proton weapon damage, which is irrelevant because you don't use proton damage on this one. However, if I were to remove this Hyper Refracting Tetron Dual Bank, there are two weapons which you can also craft for it. They're this, which is the gravimetric photon torpedo launcher, which is really good actually. If you're going to have a torpedo, it would be this one. The other is the experimental proton weapon, which you would probably put on the rear of your ship and hope no one saw that it was there. But it's only got a 180 degree firing arc as well, which is pretty pants. But let's equip that for the moment, God help me. And between the two of these, let's look at the info. You get Arsenal Synergy, which gives you 26.6% photon projectile weapon damage, and it gives you a 3% crit, which is huge. Now, what I would actually do here, I would get rid of this, and I would put the gravimetric photon torpedo launcher on if I was going to do that, because it gives you a big buff to your photon torpedo damage, and it also gives you the 3% crit chance as well. If you went full 3-piece, you would get monstrous crit chance with your photon projectile weapons and big crit severity as well, a big bonus to crit severity. If I were running a torpedo build, I would seriously contemplate putting all three of these consoles on, because of what it does to photon torpedoes. But if I were running a torpedo build, I would probably go transphasic anyway. But it's definitely worth thinking about the gravimetric photon torpedo launcher, because it's seriously good. I forgot to look at how much these things cost, so apologies about that. The 0-point energy conduit costs 500 marks, 15,000 lithium, 30,000, and if we go to the Dyson joint, the proton particle stabilizer costs 500 Dyson marks, 2 Voth cybernetic implants, which you can get from running dinosaur runs, 15,000 dilithium, 30,000 energy credits, and the proton weapon I believe costs the same, and so does the photon torpedo launcher. So they're the things that they're the universal consoles. The only other one I would potentially think about, if you really wanted to, was the universal binaural gel pack. Gives you a cooldown to all bridge officer abilities and gives you +2 power to all subsystems, which can be very useful. You can actually see that I have really huge power levels at this point, just by equipping the odd console. So that's something you can definitely think about. As far as more end game stuff goes, as far as your build goes, let's just come back to the Thunder chart. If we come back here, deflector, impulse, warp shields. If you're the one that most people are doing now, I haven't got my bridge officers up, so let's just bring those back. You can see I will actually have 2 attack patterns here. I haven't sorted this out properly. Let's just see if I can actually do that now. Can I sort this out? No, I can't at the moment. Does my other officer he has attack pattern beta? What does he have here? I'll get hold of one. Whatever. Let's just go back to... does this? No, he doesn't either. Damn it, none of my guys are done properly. Anyway, I will have 2 attack patterns here, so basically what I would think of, if you have 2 attack patterns, I would go for these, which are the Romulan Advanced Prototype Impulse Engines, because they give you a boost to your attack pattern abilities. For tactical captains, this is incredibly important, because tactical captains also get access to attack pattern alpha, which counts an attack pattern, and improving your attack pattern abilities does a lot to them. So that's something that we're definitely looking to do. As far as shield and impulse goes, the ones you probably want, as my ship goes into spasms, you probably want this 2 set. This is the Nukara deflector and the Nukara crystalline resilient shields. The reason you want these again is the 2 set. These are available from Tholium Reputation, and the 2 set from this gives you 2.5% flat weapon damage increase. Which apparently, this is basically the end game setup with a warp core that has AMP on it. God, it gives me yellow warp engines. That looks really horrible. But it gives you the Solanae. If I upgraded that to have an AMP warp core, this would be an end game build as far as those 4 slots went. So that's how we're going to set up our weapon shields for weapons. If you can't craft reputation stuff, and sometimes you can't, I would really recommend you climb the ladder as soon as you possibly can. If you can't, look at what your build is trying to do and build appropriately. I would recommend getting these 2 no matter what. These 2 I think are absolute musts no matter what. Warp cores, look at what you're trying to do, basically, is what I would recommend. But for the most part, the rest of it is going to be what you're looking to buff. So it would normally be your flow capacitors. If you can buff those, that would be spectacular. Your auxiliary power is always... Auxiliary and weapon power is something you always want to get a buff to if you can do. And really, you can pick up certain gear that will make things worth it, but reputation gear is not that expensive. You saw that pretty much everything that I put on the ship. Let's go back to the reputation again. Let's go to New Romulus. Let's see, where is the 0 point... See, the 0 point energy conduit is also a tier 1 reward, so you don't need to be tier 5 in order to be crafting these. You don't even need to do the Omega ones here. You don't even need, if I'm correct, let me just come here. You do for that. You don't, for the universal console and the cutter beam, you don't even need Borg neural processors. So, you know, these are things that you should absolutely be crafting and working towards, 100%. Same with the new Romulus ones. They don't require anything special. Craft it. New Kara Strike Force. Let me have a look and see what level you have to be to get the stuff here. So yeah, you do need to be quite high as far as New Kara goes. You need to do the Resilient Shields, which are level 5. The Deflector is level 2, which is at least something, and level 3 you get the Impulse Engines. If you can't get that high, another possible loadout is in the Undine reputation, which would be to get the Counter Command Deflector Array and team that with the other 2 parts of New Kara. You can see that the Counter Command Deflector Array gives you accuracy, bonus damage, bonus structural integrity, bonus pretty much, and particle generators as well. So in fact, on my science-based ships, this might even be a better way to go than Romulan Deflector and New Kara because of the exotic damage buff. Which means that you get a load of damage from your grab well. So these are things that you really have to think about when you're putting your build together, about what you think's worth. But again, this is fine tuning. What we're looking to do is get you up there what sort of gear you need to be looking at. Also, this will require 5 isomorphic injections, which might be a little bit difficult for the average person to get. You just need to go into Undine Battleground for that. But again, these, even though these require a little bit of grind, just do Crystalline Entity, you'll get there in no time. It literally is just grinding Crystalline Entity, there's nothing else to it. There's no special things that you need to get either, it's just 750 new Kara marks and 32,000 dilithium. These are expensive, the new Kara ones, these are the first ones that are super expensive, but they're definitely worth it for the moment. And again, you can flip around how you want. You don't necessarily have to go New Kara. If you find a shield that you like, shield deflector that you like off the other factions, by all means stick that on your ship. You know, most of it is going to be around, you know, most of the getting your DPS up to 10k is going to be around how well you fly it, how well you sync your abilities up, and how well, you know, as long as your gear is good, you'll be okay as far as that goes. Let's come back. Engineering consoles are generally where you're going to put your universal consoles. So your assimilated module, your universal thing. Your plasmonic leech, if you have one. Your Kabali regenerative thing. You want to tank a bit more, your Kabali chip. But yeah, these are the two lobby consoles I was talking about. Don't worry about those. Seriously, don't worry about them. Because, you know, you're going to spend ages putting those together. Just really don't worry. I should have a new science console somewhere. Oh, that's because it's a science console, I think. Is it a science console? I got it yesterday. I should still have it. Can't find it. I'm sure I put that on one of my ships yesterday, unless it might still be in my fleet bank. Never mind, I'm not going to go into that now. Yeah, the plasmonic leech is 100% what you want, but it costs an absolute fortune, so we're not going to go that direction. Let's put in, it really depends. I want this bucket to be able to turn, so you can put in an RCS module that gives you, you know, an RCS module doesn't usually give you a big boost to your resist, but this one is actually from a fleet area, which gives you resistance to all. You can also do things through the crafting system, but engineering consoles tend to be where you put your armors. I have a neutronium armor here. Gives you a big resistance rating to everything, or your regenerative integrity field if you want to be a douche on this side. So that's where you put your consoles where you want to, you know, that's where you put your consoles that you want to do damage in. Want to either prevent damage or make yourself move faster or something like that. Science is where we start getting a little conventional. I'm going to recommend getting fleet consoles. Now, before everyone starts yelling, I'm talking about potentially these. Now, this is a Mark 10 flow capacitor with negative threat and plasma. These are going to get nerfed very shortly, but that's only to stop an exploit. They are still going to be the best in slot. You will notice I've got Mark 10 versions of them. These are available from your fleet embassy. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to the fleet starbase system and we're going to have a look now. If you do not have a fleet, don't worry. There are public service channels. If you just Google, I'll call it, if you just Google Nerds of Prey public service channel, that will give you a channel that you'll be able to look at a channel to join, and there you'll be able to request access to embassies and spires from people who are in high tier fleets, and that will get you to where you need to be. Let's just head to the embassy so I can show you guys what we are doing. So take the shuttle to the fleet embassy. I don't think we've got our transwarp to Spire up yet. Well, that's irritating. So you come to the fleet embassy and you go here, requisition space equipment, and I've not got any dilithium at the moment, but never mind. And the ones you want usually are either the particle generator ones or the flow capacitor ones, depending on what you want to be. Very occasionally, if you want to be a shield tank, you could potentially get the emitter array ones, which give you shield healing, but I would suggest staying away from them, to tell you the truth. I think flow capacitor ones are just better. And as you can see, if you're part of a fleet, 12,500 fleet credits, 2,275 dilithium. So you're talking a day and a bit for 4 of them there. Now, yeah, fleet credits, you need to contribute to your fleet. But seriously, guys, these are the best in slot and by a very, very significant distance. They're not that expensive in terms of what you need to do to get 50,000 fleet credit. 50,000 fleet credits is donating 500 fleet marks. It's really not a lot. So I would recommend getting hold of these as early as you can. If you can't, just put normal flow capacitor ones in there, or particle generator ones, or shield emitter. If you look here, you've got science console flow capacitor shield healing ones as well. I wouldn't get these. You just get the ones you want are the plasma infused ones. They're the ones that you want. Aside from that, if you don't want to get those, you can always use your science slots for either particle generator consoles, flow capacitor consoles, or if you really want to, you can put more tactical consoles in there. Not tactical, you can put more universal consoles in there. Finally, we come to the tactical consoles. Do not put anything at all other than tactical things in here. I can't stress that highly enough. Do not put anything other than tactical consoles in here. The best ones are these, which are the vulnerability locators. They are the best ones. However, they require a tier 3 spire, which again you can get access to off Nerds of Prey, but they are only Mark 12, so a full batch of 4 of them, 5 if you're running a really endgame escort, are going to set you back 250,000 fleet credits. That's a lot, guys. That really is a lot. So I would actually recommend they are something to work towards, not they are something that you should work towards. If you don't have those, don't cry or anything like that. You can use standard standard regs for whatever your ship is based on. They will do you just fine in the short term. You don't even need to get very rare ones. You can get rare ones, or you can get rare ones, or you can get I've even seen uncommon ones be fine. Well, basically the rule is just put tactical stuff there. So that's going to be it as far as equipment goes on this side. Next time we're basically going to see if we can dance, and I am going to throw some equipment from the missions onto this ship along with some reputation items. I'm banning myself from using the plasmonic leech or any Lobby console. We're going to see what I can do in this Star Cruiser. I don't know if I'll be able to take it to 10k DPS. If I was a tactical captain, I believe I would be fine. But as a science captain, I'm not sure I'm going to be capable of doing that. But I'm going to show you at least how to set this ship up to be as good as it can. One final note actually regarding these science consoles. The reason you buy them at Mark 10 and not Mark 12, it's actually cheaper to upgrade them. If I bring out the upgrade here, let's just take this off for a minute. Let's put it in there. You see, it only requires 1 crit will actually be enough to upgrade it. Otherwise it's 2 science, which is 2,000 dilithium, and then I think it's only another 3. So that's 5,000 dilithium. So it's actually cheaper to buy the Mark 10 and upgrade it yourself to Mark 12. Additionally, you will also get a small chance of it going epic during that time. So it's actually much better to buy the Mark 10s rather than the Mark 12s. Oh, I haven't opened this. What did I get? Z particles, yay. So that is the end as far as this goes, guys. next time round in part 4. As I said, I'm going to put what I can on this ship. I'm not too sure whether to allow myself vulnerability locators or not. I probably won't. Another final thing, actually, one thing to aim for with bridge officers, try and get Romulans. They are available from your embassy. They give you 2.5% crit chance. They're expensive again. I think they're very expensive actually. So again, something to work for in the future, not to get immediately. But this is developing, and what I'll do is I'll do a sort of semi-cheap run to see what I can do, and then I will then we'll literally just go all out and see what we can do, putting as much damage through it as we can, and we'll see how much the equipment actually matters on that front. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and hope you stay with me on the path to 10k. This is Boomer for Star Trek Online, and I will see you next time.